Properties and characteristics of propane. The safe dispensing of propane involves knowing its properties and characteristics and being aware of safety procedures. A safety data sheet, or SDS, is available from propane suppliers or distributors and must be available and accessible to all employees at the workplace. The SDS provides important information on propane, including physical properties, health effects, first aid, safety precautions, and personal protective equipment. Propane is stored as both a liquid and a vapor. As propane liquid turns to vapor, it expands 270 times. Because of the large expansion rate, a liquid propane leak can be more hazardous than a propane vapor leak. Propane containers are usually filled to only 80% of their capacity to allow room for liquid propane to expand with an increase in temperature. Propane is non-toxic, but its vapor can be dangerous to inhale because it can displace oxygen. Since propane vapor is heavier than air, propane released in a confined space may settle in low-lying areas. However, if there is sufficient air movement, especially outdoors, the vapor will quickly dissipate in the air. Propane liquid becomes very cold when released to the atmosphere. This means if it comes in contact with your skin, it can cause frostbite or freeze burns. For this reason, appropriate gloves or other personal protective equipment resistant to propane should always be worn when filling containers. Your employer may require other safety equipment depending on your specific responsibilities, so be sure to check with your supervisor. Propane is a fuel. It will ignite and burn under the right conditions. 3 ingredients are needed to start and sustain combustion: propane, oxygen, and an ignition source. In order to minimize possible ignition sources that could lead to combustion, customers should be restricted from the immediate area around the liquid propane transfer areas. Detecting propane. A strong, unpleasant-smelling chemical is added to propane so you can detect it. The chemical added to propane makes it smell like rotten eggs, a skunk spray, or a dead animal. You should respond immediately to even a faint odor of propane. If for any reason you cannot recognize the smell of propane, notify your supervisor immediately. Both you and your customer's safety could depend on your ability to smell propane in the event of a leak. What you should know before dispensing propane. Sources of ignition. You should be aware of any potential ignition sources any time you are handling or transferring propane. Some examples include a person smoking, open flames, internal combustion engines, and static electricity. Make sure you eliminate any potential ignition sources before handling or filling propane cylinders and tanks. In the right conditions, a source of ignition, such as a static discharge or spark, may cause the ignition of some fuels, including gasoline and propane. For more information on controlling static electricity, visit propanecouncil.org. Uncontrolled propane leaks and fires. An uncontrolled release of propane can be extremely dangerous and potentially cause a fire or explosion. If your facility is equipped with an emergency shutdown device, make sure you are aware of its location. In the event of a propane emergency, you should always place personal and customer safety first. Follow these steps. Shut down the dispenser if safe to do so. Evacuate the area immediately. Everyone in the building or area affected by the emergency should evacuate immediately to a safe distance. Do not re-enter the area. Call for help. After you are at a safe distance from the affected area, call 911 or your local fire department. When help arrives. Emergency responders, including firefighters, hazmat crews, and emergency medical technicians, are the only personnel qualified to provide leadership in emergencies involving propane. Your company may have specific instructions for you to follow in both routine and emergency situations, so you should always consult your supervisor for more information.